So I want to welcome everyone to this Saturday evening tutorial for credit. So today is May the 11th, 2019. So we are running up to the end of the term and the year. And I'm going to show you the calendar. Now, first of all, if you go to Blackboard, you will see this file already uploaded. If you were to click on some of these dates, it will take you to the video record of that week for the tutorial. If you want to, you don't have to. And like I said many times, you see there's a clock up there. So in the next hour and a half, if at any point in time there's something that you don't understand, of course you can always just put your hand up, or you can make a note of the time and then you just go back and you can watch the video at that moment just to save your time. So today I'm calling this T8 because this date here corresponds to session number 8, although I'm just lining them up. So after today, we are going to meet 3 more times, so 18, 25th, and then 1st of June. So what we will do in the remaining time is, so for the 25th of May, we might need to come in just a little bit earlier, maybe 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. The reason is, so that would be the week when we're going to do our little presentations here. Are you all okay with that? You saw the spec that we uploaded, so I hope everything is quite clear. You know who you'll be working with, right? You know all those people. So that is on the 25th of May. We may need to come in just a bit earlier. This room is normally open even before 6 o'clock. So we're going to do that. And then for the session before and the session after, so I guess I'm going to start to help you guys prepare for the final. It doesn't mean I'll tell you what's in it, but I will try to manage your expectations and give you some advice on how to prepare, and we can look at some examples of the style and the style of questions that might come up, and we can walk through some cases and so on. So that would be that's the plan. And then, like I said, we meet with Ryan next Friday. That is May 17th, so you all know that. And Yifan and you and your friend will be doing a presentation that night, okay, next Friday. And then I think, Alfred, you'll be doing it, you're gonna be solo, right? On the 19th of May, which is actually, you know that, right? Yeah, that's a Sunday morning. That class, as we have said, is in YIA. It's going to be in YIA LT something. I think it's 7. Anyway, 7, 8, and 9, they're all next to each other. And it starts at 9 a.m. Okay, I'm going to send an invitation to all of you, so don't worry about that. So we start early, we finish early. Okay. And but after that, so Ryan, you are going to see him 4 more times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Not counting the exam, which actually is on a Sunday, by the way. Sunday morning, June the 9th. Because on the 10th is when we have our farewell party. What's the date today? May the 11th. So we have less than a month together. Okay. So any kind of wisdom or stupidity that you would like to share it, please, within the next 30 days. Okay. Wisdom from you, stupidity from me. Okay? No, but seriously, so make the best use of, it goes so quickly, doesn't it? Okay, so everyone is okay with that, the timetable, yeah? So it's all working out quite well. So the assignments, as they are called, where you work in groups of 3 or 4, so they will be presented actually in the tutorial in 2 weeks' time. Here, right now, right here as we speak. Bless you. So you know about that, and we're going to have peer review as well. And I explained what that is as well last week. Just to start today, I couldn't help noticing. So it's been a very interesting week. I'm sure you have noticed. As students of finance, you should now be increasingly engaged with market governance. By that I mean at least, at the very least, turn on the radio when no one listens to the radio anymore. Argue. Turn on the radio, turn on the TV, turn on CNBC, turn on Bloomberg, Reuters, read the newspaper. You know what's been going on. What's been going on? What happened yesterday? Trade war. What's the outcome? Yeah, it's not good. Huh? You know Trump very well. Okay, what is his next move? It's an interesting statement to make. You know Trump very well. What do you mean by that?
What has happened is just the first step to the conclusion of settlement in 5 years not being reached. So we are just continuing to trade war with taxes, original for another 7 months.
Yeah.
He's not going to solve the trade war is escalate after.
Yeah.
So it's not yet ended, it's just a start.
But anyway, I couldn't help noticing that yesterday there was another event in the market, which was the IPO of Uber. Poor little Uber, you know what Uber is? You have that in China? Huh? They got bought up by somebody else. Yeah. They're in Hong Kong too. I often said that, when I show you a company, this company, that company, and I'll say to you, we have an alumni working for that company. In this case, I have to cancel it. We do have an alumni. I don't know if she's still there, but she was working for Uber. Had an interesting experience. Just trying to get in touch with her. So they had an IPO yesterday, which is certainly not the best day to have an IPO, when the 2 biggest economies in the world are not in negotiations, which broke down. Either they were not aware of it, so maybe they planned the IPO months and months ahead, but I have to say they were quite unlucky. If I was their sponsors, I think really even just 2 weeks ago, I was probably betting on a positive outcome. Trump kept saying, we're close to the conclusion, and it's really going well. They were probably really banking on that, and then during the last 5 days, it just completely turned direction. And it closed nearly 8%. I think they're lucky to get away with just 8%. It reminded me, and you would remember this because I showed you this slide earlier on, either in capital markets and certainly in Chinese equity with Paul McGuinness. Do you remember him? I showed you this slide about Prada. And when Prada came for the IPO in Hong Kong in 2011, the first 2 days, so this is the IPO open price, but it was struggling. And every time it touched the offer price, the IPO price, there is somebody out there trying to support the market. You can see that. You remember this slide? Huh? Why do they list in Hong Kong? Because that's where all the money is. Because they think they, first of all, to supplement your question, the company that is headquartered in country A does not always have to list in country A. You can go to B. Why in Hong Kong? I think because first, Hong Kong is it's a fairly developed market and it has good liquidity. There's a lot of action here. I think they wanted to list in Asia. If you're going to list in Asia and you want to have free flow of capital, there are some choices. But Hong Kong is, who else is there? Singapore, not.
Major market.
Their major customer base, well, they have a substantial customer base in Asia. They have that in Europe too. But if I was to ask you, if you want to come and list in Asia, where else would you go? You wouldn't go to Korea. You wouldn't go to Japan. Yeah. Maybe one day it can be Shanghai, but you wouldn't list in Singapore, I don't think. Yeah. Why not London? You can. And some people do. Okay. But anyway, let's not get off the track. Now that was the IPO of Prada. So at least they tried to do something. The brokers. This actually was Uber yesterday. Now I don't know what happened. I'm sure the price didn't decline sort of in a linear fashion. I don't think so. Probably the IPO price was 45, which it was, but they didn't start trading until noontime. Let's just say until noon. So the IPO was, so they rang the bell, ding, ding, ding. In fact, that's normally what you do. You get to ring the bell at the opening when you are listing. And then it doesn't trade for 3 hours. But when it opened, the first price was already substantially lower. And then they tried to jack it up. But in the end, it finished off here. This is just after hours trading. So just to, refresh your memory regarding IPOs and reissue and this and that, which you all remember. Sometimes it doesn't work. And when you've got, the two biggest economies in the world arguing with each other, probably that is just too much for the market. So that was yesterday. I want to do a couple of things. First, I want to refer back actually to some slides that were maybe there are some that I may not have covered, which I would like to bring your attention to. It's not this one. So ISDA we already talked about. Yeah, Yifan, thank you. I will answer that question. that you asked me before we started the tutorial. I want to actually talk a bit about the idea of what we call annuity value, because I can see that Ryan makes quite a lot of references to it. And the idea is, it's a simple question, if I pay you 1 basis point per annum, how much, for the next 10 years, sorry, yeah, how much is it actually worth today? Now, this is what is called the present value of an annuity. It's sometimes called the annuity value, annuity point, or DV01, delta value per basis point. It is sometimes called PV01, price value for every 1 point. It's sometimes called PVBP, price value per basis point, sometimes called modified duration. These are all the same thing. Okay. And don't worry about so many names. This actually, okay, the question is, if I pay you something forever, okay, how much is it worth? So that is actually easy to answer. So $1 forever, the present value of $1 forever, this is an infinity sign, sorry, okay? Is actually just $1 divided by whatever is the interest rate. Okay. Everyone is okay with that? Now, this is very simple fixed income, especially if you are doing fixed income. But the present value of something of $1 over the next 10 years, not forever, you actually, if you wish to calculate that, you know how to do that, right? It's very, you just discount everything back to today. So you discount, so 1, I'm sure you know that by now, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you just discount all these dollars back to today. All the way up to 10 years. And so how would you write that? It's a summation of $1 discounted by from 1 to 10. You can read my messages. Excuse me. Now, a question to you. This would be approximately, excuse me, 7. So for 10-year cash flows, it would be somewhere around 7. Now, my question to you, is it always 7? No, it isn't. In fact, whether it is 7.2 or 7.5 depends on the yield curve and the level of the yield curve and how it's moving, but it would be roughly around 7. So the way we write that is we say that the DV01 for 10 years is equal to 7. Now, you need to understand what that means because Ryan will be making some certain references in the exam. So when you see something represented this way, you need to understand what he's talking about. Is everyone okay with that? Yeah? Yeah, the 10-year DV01. that means the DVO, okay, if I just write this in the box, all right, if I don't, or I might not even say it like this. I might just say DVO1 for whatever, okay, for 10 years is equal to 7. What I mean by that exactly is if I pay you $1 every year all the way up to year 10, the present value of all of these today would be equal to $7. Okay? That's what the DVO1 means. And it doesn't always have to be dollars. It can simply be if I give you 1 basis point per annum for 10 years, it's the same concept, okay? But you can manipulate that in different ways. So the PV of that, of 1 basis point over 10 years, is equal to what? 7 basis points. Thank you. Are you with me? Okay. It's not that this is difficult, but I want to clarify with you. Whenever Ryan asks a question and he gives you this, there is a reason he's giving you that. Okay? Now, let me, I want to talk about a couple of things. The first thing was actually a question that Yifan was asking. So he was asking me just now, what is the difference between default on coupon and default on principal and bankruptcy. Bankruptcy. No, there's no T, right? Bankruptcy. Is there a T? There is. Bankruptcy. You know, my spelling is really deteriorating quite fast. Maybe it's because I'm getting old, but I think it's not. I think it's because we are all using the spell checker and Grammarly and all those things. Now, so what is the difference between these? It's a good question. There are, I think, you can look at it in different ways. There are legal differences and there are operational differences. Now, let me tell you what I mean by that. So, legally, if you default on a coupon, you are in default. And if you default on a principal, legally, you are also in default. In the credit derivative world, there is a term for that. It's called failure to pay. It's one of the credit events. That's exactly what it means. You fail to pay something. So legally, if you default on a coupon, default is default. Default means you should have paid something in full and on time, and you haven't. Now that's legally. Operationally, I think if you default on a coupon, now let me carry on with the legal side. So legally, when you default on whether it is a coupon or whether it is principal, the consequence of that, to a great extent, would depend on the cross-default provisions that are attached to those bonds. Do you remember cross default? Do you remember what that means? So you default on, so let's say these are all my lenders. So I default on one person, on one lender, but if that bond has cross default applicable, then it means I have defaulted on all of them, even though maybe I haven't. Okay. So legally, when we default on somebody, they have the right to pick up the phone and chase you up. Please pay me back my coupon. In fact, please pay me back my principal right now. Okay, so that can happen. Operationally, I think if you default on a coupon, and again, there are different scenarios that can happen depending on cross default. But I would say that if you default on a principal, it is altogether much more serious in the sense that if you default on a principal and you want to negotiate some kind of restructure, the amount is bigger. So in that regard, in practice, I mean, defaulting on coupon is not good, of course it isn't. Okay? And it can trigger the same consequence as if you defaulted on principal, depending on what kind of cross default clauses you have. Okay? Now, bankruptcy is something different. So I hope you don't mind me using sort of medical analogy, because I think it brings the point home. So if you default, it's kind of like having a heart attack in a way. Now, people can survive heart attacks, especially if you know the warning signs and you prepare for it. Heart attack does not always result in death. Bankruptcy, you're dead. Okay. Bankruptcy is a legal status. It's something that you declare. Okay, we have gone bankrupt. So the CEO is gone. So bankruptcy typically means, if this was your balance sheet before, so you have assets and you have liability and you have equity, this is before. After you declare bankruptcy, it always means that your assets cannot even pay off your liabilities. Never mind the equity people, they're gone. Okay? Whereas if you are in default, you haven't got there yet. This is what we call 资估抵债. Yeah, you know what I mean. Okay. Oh, not good. So of course, before you go into bankruptcy, you first will go through a default. Unless you are someone like Lehman Brothers and everything just kind of happened overnight like this. Oh, has anyone seen the movie Avengers 4? I should be careful when I do this, right? Have you seen it? You've seen it. You know what I mean. Otherwise, half of you are going to disappear. If you see the movie, you understand the joke. Yeah, so bankruptcy, whether default leads to bankruptcy would depend on the bankruptcy laws of the individual country where the company is domiciled. To give you an example, in the United States, have you heard of Chapter 11? Yeah, so Chapter 11, bankruptcy protection. Now, not every country has that, but this concept is, what is it? What is Chapter 11 protection? So it actually allows companies that are in kind of financial hardship a little bit of time. Typically, it is 4 months, between 4 months to 18 months, I think, where the court will decide, okay, I understand you have problems, and I will stop all your lenders chasing you. But in the meantime, you come up with a plan, and you show it to everyone, and you prove to us that you think you can survive, and then that's the idea, okay? They have that in the US. I don't know anywhere else. So is everyone okay with that? The difference between default on coupon, default on principal. I think in practice, okay, the amounts are different. So of course they're different, but you're in trouble either one. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So when you are bankrupt, you are, the situation is far more serious. So you raised a very good point, which is, did you hear what he just said? He said when you default on something, especially you default on a coupon, maybe not so much the principal, but if you default on a coupon, you can still have equity. Yes. Many times, and this is a lesson that I think we should all learn, all of us, including me. Many times, when you get into financial distress, it may not be due to, taking excessive risks and so on. It could simply be you have a cash flow problem. You can be running a fantastic business, but you don't have cash flows. Everything is locked up, and you don't have cash coming in, but you got cash needing to go out. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that can it's called liquidity crunch. Okay, that's something to remember. Now, so is that okay? Yeah. What would happen? Actually, if you don't mind, I can change your question. What would happen if a company default on coupon or principal? If they default, so let's say these are, like I said, these are my lenders, okay? Tianwen, and then Zhengting, and so on. I default on Tianwen, so he has the right to chase me. If I default on coupon, he can chase me on the coupon. He can even chase me on the principal. And if the bond or the loan that he gives me says cross default applicable, then all the other people can also start chasing me. So it depends on how it's documented, but minimum he will chase me. Maximum the whole town will be chasing me. Yeah, I still need to pay. Yes, I still need to pay. Yeah, yeah. Don't try to default. It's not a good idea. Then you can go to stage 2, which is bankruptcy. Then you file the bankruptcy. Yeah. Well, actually, between stage 1 and stage 2, there can be a stage 1.5, which is he will try to renegotiate, extend the loan. It's not because he's nice, or he might be nice, okay? Because if they don't do that and they push me over the cliff, they might get even less. So they think about it, that they're thinking with their own interest. As well as my interest, there is mutual interest. Are you with me? Yeah. Now, the other thing I thought we can spend a bit of time discussing, because some of you were asking me about the skew indices. Do you understand that instrument? Because some of you said, I have a. So I think Ryan might talk more about this, but I will just give you a very, very brief interpretation. Now, last week in the notes that he provided, there is a slide, there's a deck of slides called credit skew. Remember? Yeah? You all understand what that is or not? I think you should, because some of you may either become structured credit sales, or you can become fund managers, so you work for hedge funds, so you need to understand these things. Okay, I'm going to just spend a few minutes just sharing with you what's been my experience on this product, and I've seen how people traded it. There's a company out there called Market, not Market, Market. And they specialize in these credit indices. And you can actually go to Google. If you type Market, but you have to spell it wrong, otherwise it doesn't come up. Okay, KIT. And it's just Market. Oh, hold on. Is this the right one? Okay. Founded in 2003 as an independent source of credit derivative trading. So I've got the right one. Merged in 2016 with IHS to form IHS Market. Now, what does this company actually do? So what they do, I'm going to get the actual, this must be the actual website. What they do is, so this company looks at the credit default swap market out there, and there will be lots and lots of names. So for example, you can have GE and Boeing, and then you have China Mobile and Microsoft, whatever. Okay, there are hundreds, there are thousands of names out there with credit default swap quotes. And typically the standard is to look at the 5-year CDS. So GE might be, 112 basis points. Boeing can be 107. Boeing probably not doing so well right now. China Mobile, 90, whatever. Microsoft, 82. Are you with me so far? Yeah. So this company, they have all these credit indices, and there are a lot of, I want to see if they have where I can show you some examples. Credit indices. Market iTraxx. Credit indices. So they have these indices, and they are formed in different groups. So here there is a market iTraxx Europe Main 5-year and market iTraxx Europe Crossover, market iTraxx Europe Senior Financials. So the name of the first two are a little bit obscure. What the hell is Europe Main? What the hell is Europe Crossover? But when you get to the third one, you start to understand. What they do is they look at financial companies. You take a bunch of financial companies in Europe and you look at the CDS of their senior debt and so on. Market iTraxx Europe Subordinated Financials. Okay, and what they do is they really, literally, they take a look at these numbers and they just add them up. Okay, so how about we have all the financials? So you got HSBC and Barclays and who knows, Deutsche Bank, UBS, and so on. But let's just stay with 4. Okay, it can be 50 names, and you add them up. Now let's say this is the quote today. So what is it when you add them up? What is the, just by way of example, 416, 464. I'm just making this up, all right? And maybe they, I think maybe they divide that by some kind of market weight, but let's just add them up like this, okay? So you have these individual levels, and then you have the sum. I think they need to divide that, maybe equally. So you get an average. Oh, it actually is divisible by 4. What is it when it's 100 and 116? Okay? Now, so when you form an index and you get together all these individual levels and you call it an index, what they've done is they made it, they pushed it one step further. They said, how about we actually make this tradable? So you can trade the index. You can buy and sell on the index, and this number will change when these numbers are changing, of course, because I just told you that at the start, this number would need to be derived from something, and it would be from the source. Now, then something interesting happens, because this company actually became quite successful. So much so that you had a market for all the individual CDSs. So that is the market. And then you have a market for credit indices. So note that they may actually agree with each other on day one, but this one, when it starts trading, almost as a kind of financial instrument on its own, although it is actually a derivative. It is a derivative of a derivative, if you like. It's a derivative of CDSs, which in itself is a derivative. So the credit indices market actually became quite big. The end result was that sometimes after you launch an index and it's freely traded out there, when you add up all these, and you look at this number, they're not the same. Okay, are you with me? Now you're thinking, you're probably thinking two things. First of all, they should be the same, and if they're not the same, you're thinking of this. It's not Captain America, okay? It's capital A arbitrage with a capital A. Why aren't you arbitraging? And I tell you what, people do. But now, first of all, why would they be, to begin with, why would they be different? Okay, what, you know, the correlation. Now, because by definition, when you are trading the index, it is a bit like asking, you know, if you trade the S&P 500, well, that one is a bit different because you can't trade the index, but you can trade the S&P 500, the ETF, which is called SPY. Yeah, it is a derivative of, it's a derivative of the components. Yeah. That's right. It is a derivative, and you would think that it should be exactly the same as the components because these things have a life of 5 years, and then the index also has a life. Everything is supposed to match perfectly. So the index has a life of 5 years, tracking those credit default swaps. Now, they can be different, and this is not only for this market. This happens a lot in finance, between the physical market and the derivative. It happens quite frequently because the people who are trading this market and people who are trading this market, they may not be the same people. Here, it could be, let's just say, you know, a lot of institutional or proprietary traders or hedge funds, let's just say hedge funds. And here it could be institutions like commercial banks, or it can be private banks and high net worth individuals and so on, and high net worth. And in between, there are people who are doing both, and you know, the arbitrage people are typically in the middle. Now, sometimes this area can be very small, sometimes it can be bigger, but when you see a kind of divergence, it is always because the supply and demand dynamics of the underlying market and the derivative markets are not exactly the same. And they're not the same because they are traded by different people. So traders and hedge funds, their trading sizes can be different. Their risk appetite can be different. Their stop loss and their risk tolerance can be different. So, you know, when there is a market crisis, like, you know, maybe what we had in the last week, suddenly you find in one market there can be a lot of liquidation, or people trying to unwind more than another market. So if you get these kind of disequilibrium, is everyone okay with that? I think I want to explain to you how much more credit index is so interesting. Yeah? So there's a lot behind it that will help you understand not only this market, but a lot of different types of arbitrage. Now, so let's say that there are some differences, and the difference is usually not that big. When I say not that big, let's say between 20 to 80 basis points maximum. between 25, let's say 25 to 75. Now, 75 is actually already quite a lot, I think. And you can see there are some graphs here that is trying to give you a history. No, in the front. So here we go. Let's look at one of them. This one. Okay. So what you have is in red is the actual index itself. This is the iTraxx Europe Property. You saw it just now on the web page. Whatever that means, you can actually go and have a look at that. So the index itself, the scale is on the right-hand side, but the skew is the scale for the skew is on the left-hand side. Now, so like I said, it can be somewhere between plus 100 to minus 100, but let's say you are an investor and it's currently sitting at 25. Now, first of all, why is it sometimes positive and negative? There's a definition of what the skew means, and the skew is the differential between the CDS, so I think it's CDS minus the index. So when the skew is positive, then the CDS is greater than the index, but when it's negative, the CDS is less than the index. And I want to relate this to you because I have seen trades done before, and what they would do is so let's say there's a client, there's an investor, and the investor comes with some money, $100, and this is the bank or the issuer or the credit derivative desk. So what they would do is, first of all, they would take this money and they would probably go to the bond market and they would purchase some kind of credit instrument which will pay, let's just say LIBOR plus 100, and they need to tell you, let's just say LIBOR plus 100. So immediately there is some kind of credit risk going on. So this is a collateral. Actually, often they use an SPV. So this is like a shell company. So they buy this collateral. There's 100 basis points here. And then what this SPV would do is they would do a swap with a credit derivative desk, a desk like Ryan's desk, okay, where maybe they would pay all the CDSs, but they receive the index. And let's just say that when you do this, let's just say that there is a 25 basis point difference. Are you with me? And they would leverage it 20 times. So that means I actually can I can afford to now pay this client LIBOR plus 100 plus 500. Now you're wondering, where does the 100 come from? The 100 comes from here, 100 basis points. The 500 comes from, where does the 500 come from? 25 times 20. Are you with me? Now, this is when the fund starts. So these trades are normally 5 years because these CDSs, the standard tenor for CDSs is 5 years. So 5 years CDS and 5 years on the credit index. So one thing I can tell you for sure is that in exactly 5 years' time, in precisely 5 years' time, on May the 11th, 2024, those two will be equal. They will be equal on the last day. Because on the last day, on that day, what you have is you have an index, but the index refers to a whole bunch of individual CDSs, and the index value on that day at maturity is calculated by summing up all of these and taking some kind of average. So I know that on the last day, they certainly will converge. The problem is, during the next 5 years, they may not. They may not because CDSs are traded individually and the index can be traded individually, just like what I was describing to you up here. So they, yes. Yeah, sure. Going down, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Even if you don't have the $100, you can still do the arbitrage. Do you understand his question? You. Yes. Now, you asked a very good question, and I think you have good instincts. You can do this trade even without $100. It is the classic debate, between funded and unfunded transactions that we have talked about several times. Funded means somebody comes with $100 and you pay them, LIBOR plus X plus Y. Unfunded, so this might be, the spread you get from the collateral. If there is a spread, this would be the payoff. In fact, this is 25 basis points times 20. Now, if it was unfunded, so they don't come with any money, then yes, it's just Y. Okay, are you with me? Yeah, you are kind of one step ahead of me, but I'm happy you are asking these questions. Anyway, as I was saying, so now we have a trade like this, and it kind of looks good. So I said to you, on the last day, in 5 years' time, the two will converge. So it looks like free money. What is your risk? You just have to buy this, put it under the pillow, sleep on it, see you in 5 years' time. It's not actually a complicated idea. Okay, are you okay so far? Now the problem is this: The problem actually is partly related to your question, Huadong. The problem is, so today when we trade, I can pay you 25, and this is for 5 years. And let's say the DV01 now, you know this idea comes up all the time. Let's say the DV01 is 4.25. Let's just say 4.25. This is kind of like the modified duration. If you are doing fixed income, then you should understand what I am saying. If you don't, I'll look into it. Okay. So now, today I can pay you 25. Now, what if 1 month later, the skew is not 25 anymore, but so this is Y for today, and 1 month later, the skew is now 35 instead of 25. In other words, if you had just waited a little bit longer, you would have earned another 10 basis point extra. Now, I ask you, if we had the mark to market now, just approximately, first of all, are you making, do you have a positive mark to market or do you have a negative mark to market? Are you happy to see that if you are an investor or you are a customer, you did this trade last week or last month, and 1 month later, now if you were to do this trade today, I can pay you 35. In other words, the skew has widened. Are you happy about that? You can't be. Because if you did the trade today and we leverage 20 times, I can pay you 7%, not 5%. Now, if you are not happy, so you must have a negative mark to market of some kind. Who can tell me just approximately what that mark to market is for $2? I should give $2 to Huadong. You don't have to calculate. You can tell me what the numbers are. 1.6. Tell me how you arrive at 1.6. Divided by 5. 4.25 times 2. How did you come up with that?
Because the difference is 10, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the DV01 for that 25% is 4.25. And the ratio is 1:2.
So what is that? So that's 8.5 divided by 5, which is 1.7. So you mean the bond price will be 98.30? Is that what you mean? No, actually, before you get totally confused, let me just lay out the numbers. Ladies and gentlemen, it is very simple. And in the final, you probably need to come up with something like that. Now, first of all, your regret is quantifiable. You are 10 basis points worse off, correct? And every basis point is worth 4.25 because that is the DV01. This is 10 basis points per annum. And you are 20 times leverage. Are you with me? So what is that? That's 42.5 basis points multiplied by 20, which is 8.45%, I think. Can you check that? Or 8.5%, I'm sorry. Am I right? Minus, correct, yeah, minus 8.5%. Now, the skew just went from 25 to 35. Now, by the way, these so-called skews are tiny, and sometimes they don't move at all. They move 1 or 2 basis points. But here they move 10. They move 10, and your loss magnifies to a present value of 8.5%. So that means if you paid at par, now your note is going to be worth $91.50. Are you with me? You lost $8.50. Now that's only a 10% move. Now, related to your question, pardon, if you don't do this, and I wasn't going to talk about this, but since you asked, if you don't do this on a funded basis and you do it on an unfunded basis, in other words, you structure some kind of a swap, and you can. So that, and hedge funds probably do that a lot, which is why, you have this kind of disequilibrium. So there's a hedge fund, and then there is a bank, maybe SocGen. So the hedge fund, maybe they are receiving all the CDSs, and they are paying the index. And at the beginning, there is a 25 basis point difference. So there is an advantage to them. But the moment this starts to diverge even more, the bank is going to say to the hedge fund, look, I'm very nervous about this swap. You are now already $8.50 negative mark to market. They're going to ask for payments, which relates to, the CSA and all that stuff, and posting collateral. But that's a different topic, okay? But whether you are doing it funded or unfunded, I don't want that to be the focus. The focus should be, this thing just moved 10 basis points, and you have lost $8.50. That's a lot of money to lose. Now take a careful look at this graph. It has gone from time to time all the way down to 80, or maybe even more. Let's just say I'll take 80. Now, what would happen if you did a, yeah. No, that is equal to 10 basis points. So the present value of that is simply 42.5 basis points multiplied by 20. No? Are you with me? Basis points can express, bond yields, but one basis point in fixed income language is basically also 1 cent. Yeah, sorry, maybe I was confusing you, okay? But this is like, if you want dollars, this is 400. This is basically $4.25 times 20, which is $8.50. Now, So now you can tell me if I did this trade at the start, I traded at 25, and now it is at 80. By the way, some exam questions are like this. And the DV01, as I said, is 4.25. And the leverage is 20 times. Now, what is the mark to market? You should be able to work it out now because it's the same as what I was. It is huge, isn't it? So it is 25 basis points. Okay, 25 basis per annum if you want. Per annum. Multiplied by 4 and 8. Did I say 4.5 or 4.25? 4.25. Okay, let's try to be consistent. So 4.25 multiplied by 20. No, it's not 25 because you have gone from 25 to 80. So the damage is actually, thank you, 55. So what is 55 times 4.25 times 20? So that means if you purchase a note and you pay par, it is now only worth $53.25. Are you with me? You know where these numbers come from? Make a note of the clock if you need to go home and review it. I think you add these two, they are equal to 100. Yeah? Now, I want to say two things. Again, the two things to emphasize, and I think Brian will go through with you another more detailed calculation, but if you don't have this background, first, you're going to get lost, and two, you won't find it interesting. So now I hope you find it interesting. Two things to say. Number one, as I said, if this is time, and at the start, this is the CDS, and the CDS is kind of going like this, and this is 5 years. When I say CDS, I mean you add up all the individual CDSs, and then you have the index. Now, they will never diverge too far, but they will diverge. Sometimes it could go the other way as well. But you can be sure that right at the end, they will be the same, because it's documented that at the end, the final settlement value of the index will be the average of the CDS. So point number one is CDS and the index are identical at maturity. But point number two is a counterpoint. They can diverge during the 5 years. Are you with me? Therefore, leading to a lot of mark-to-market damage. So what is the lesson we learned? The lesson we learned is you have something like this, and it looks like free money. Because I just told you, at the end, they will be the same, you're going to be okay. But guess what? In between, it can be quite bumpy. You know what I'm saying? I'll give you an example.
you might be thinking, some students have asked me, it's going to be okay in the end, so what's the problem? Okay? The problem is the journey, not the end. The problem is before you even get to the end. Maybe it can disappear, who knows? I tell you, one time I was in Japan, and I think it was in Kyoto, and I saw there's an amusement park, and they have one of these virtual reality machines where you go in there and you select your scenario, and then the machine will just simulate. So I went in there and I think I picked the scenario with some kind of police car chase, police chasing a bad guy, and kind of car crashes everywhere. It's the closest thing I've ever been to. If you want to know what it's like to be inside the washing machine when it's spinning, okay, try that. Now, why am I telling you this? So you go in there, you go in that machine, and you're thinking, it's going to be okay, it'll be over in 5 minutes, okay? So at the end, I will be okay. At the end, I will be okay. But when you're in there, you're not okay. You know what I'm saying? This is kind of like that. This is what I can think of. Anyway, I will leave it there. I hope you have a better understanding of credit indices and credit skews today.
What else have we discussed today? We talked about Uber and IPOs. We talked about DV01, very important for you to understand that, all right? Although it is not hard, but make sure you get it, okay? We talked about the difference between default and bankruptcy, and we talked about market. We talked about indices and CDSs and skews and how to trade them and what are the risks and the opportunities. Okay? Thank you for listening to me, and I wish you a very good evening. And since you guys have been so good paying attention, you can have Monday off. Just kidding. All right, thanks everyone. If you haven't signed your attendance, I'll give you another chance at the end. Yeah. Thank you very much. Good night.